And it's not a matter of property rights, it's a matter of how does it impact your neighbor. And this project is going to impact the neighborhood, and it ought to have the same degree of regulation.
Go ahead, I think somebody asked, about the stipulations on the bill, why they wanted to get us exempt from it. In the very beginning of that bill, it started off at 40 decibels. In other words, after the property line is only 40 decibels. They can't make 40 decibels, okay? So what does Ron do? He thinks that it's still in that bill to go down there, we're gonna get exempt from 40 decibels. But what he don't know, the lobbyists have gone down and they changed that bill. And it says an average of 50 decibels. Now, that average of 50 decibels means that he could operate that thing 7.5 years at 100 decibels, and 7.5 years cut it off, and he's dead for good. So, in other words, he made a mistake when he went down there. The other group in North Alabama, theirs specifically says 40 decibels. But ours would have said an average of 50. We'd still been subject to win if it would have passed.
Ms. Lovett.
My question is, why would any God-fearing and loving person want to do that to their whole community? Why would a landowner want to put that there when you know everybody around you, your neighbors that you're supposed to love and care about, are opposed to it? Why?
I got a question. You threw out some figures just now about 40 decibels, 50 decibels.
Yes.
What is the 56? What is the average decibel output of a windmill?
Yes, sir.
I can tell you the GE turbines are being warranted at 56 decibels, right? 56 decibels at, I think it's 300 feet away. I mean,
What does that mean? It has warranty?
they're warranting their turbine, which means if they can't meet that standard, they'll fix it or replace it.
Okay, could you give us an example of what 50 decibels would be?
56.
You're talking at about 56 decibels right now.
I am.
I'm sitting here reading this.
But now that'll be an average.
You can talk this loud if you wanted to for our, I can only whisper.
It depends
Oh,
on
it's important
how
how much production you gotta make if you don't want that
There's
thing.
different ways to measure it. You've got A-weighted, C-weighted, G-weighted, all these different measurements. And when you get into the infrasound, like I talked about a little bit, it's a whole different set of measurements.
I didn't want to get the wagon going in the wrong direction here. I was just, he had mentioned that, and I just wanted to understand in my own mind. I don't, as far as the revenue off of it, I think the purpose that we came here today was two other reasons. One was the bringing them in and what damage it was going to do. And I just came up here to get information today. I'm straddling the fence about this thing, but I don't know about decibels and decibels and things like that as far as what it would harm it would do, but I did have the opportunity to visit a windmill forest out in Wyoming, and if they produce 56 decibels, that's just like humming me to sleep at night. And I tell you what, y'all, I think we need to get back on what the real thing is here, of the danger of bringing them in, and what, as far as the regulation of them. I wouldn't want anything to not be regulated either. Now, since I muddied up the water here even for myself.
Well, I'd like to say something. I went to the wind farm, and I don't know how many people in here have. I went to get a first-hand feel, put my hand on it. When I got there and I first pulled up, it was a mile vague. the broom safe is barely moving, and the turbines are barely cranking. And I'm like, man, I better not gonna get to see what I want to see, which is towards the end of the day, because it doesn't slow to get there. But those blades turn. They rotate, and then each blade will turn. And because you don't want that blade, you know, people think, you know, things will just be flying, let it honestly slow itself down. They don't want them to run too fast and burn up the generator. But when I got there, I got up and I was like, they had a sign doing on my video that I had when I got there. If I was within 250 feet of that thing the first day, I would have to stop and try to get up there to hear any sound at all. Well, the next day I went up to meet with Carl, which is the project manager in Tennessee at Olive Springs facility. And I went up there the next day, and the wind was blowing about 10 miles an hour, and everything, you could see the flakes in the blade. And which I was by myself, and I was trying to drive up and get everything I could as I was driving, holding my iPad out the window. So the whole way up there, so I stopped, got out, turbine was right there. And I could not hear that turbine. With the wind just blowing by me, I could not hear that turbine, and the turbine was like right there at that wall.
With all due respect,
I walk-
Mr. Owen, but my horses can be better than you can.
I mean, what the finger at you, I can't give you exactly at 18 years old. I mean, I'm just asking, have you had your hearing checked?
Well, I let people in the audience listen to the same video that I had. I walked up to the turbine, showed the video right up on the blade coming by, put my hands on the turbine, walk around to where you go into the turbine, and come back out and film, you know, all the turbines that I could all the way down to the car that I was going to be. I just tell you what I experienced. I'm not trying to be a poster child for the turbine. I felt like as a commissioner trying to go answer your question, not being dead and dumb about it, and try to educate myself when I come back home to let y'all know what I want to find. So once I go do it, you're going to criticize me for going trying to find out something because that's not hearing okay. So I mean, I'm going to try to at least participate and
I'll give you credit for that. I was like, yeah, I was just asking.
How do you want to know how big they were?
they were 290 feet tall.
This would be 80-meter towers, 252, somewhere in that same range, have a little along the way. If I could ask a question, how old is that technology you saw?
Well, one of the things that the guy that I spent with was Carl that runs with the operations manager. And most of these guys are just like us that work there. These people have lived on that hill for 30 years. Those are questions I asked. Everywhere I went, I was trying to find something negative. I wouldn't start with it, but after the first day and I was heading home, I went to try to find something negative about the tower. I couldn't find it. I've got a file here of up there, they got a lot more commissioners than us. I called the city of Olive Springs, Tennessee, met with the administrator. They sent me to another. Every time I would meet with somebody, I'd ask all these questions, or try to say, what is your opinion about it? I didn't want to pressure I'm for it or against it. I didn't go up there because I didn't know. I'm just like everybody else in the room. And no way would I be after something to harm somebody. I've got grandbabies and stuff, but I tell you know, when I keep seeing my family move away, when I run for office, I've tried to come up with a way to bring jobs to this county. And I would really wish that some of the decisions that's made in this county, that these folks would show up on the day-to-day operations of the county, because I deal with it every day, and I'm proud that y'all here. But I'm not for these turbines, I'm not against them, but I am going to try to educate them out. But I thought it was my idea, and I called a lot of people out in Grambling. That's not my district, but I still feel it's y'all my family. So I went out to everybody, these people in my home, just to see what I brought back. And I even said, hey, load up in the car in a couple of weeks, I can't go because I don't have much vacation time left. I'm going back and forth already. So we'll go back up there and just ride and look at it. But
How old was the technology you looked at? How old?
the technology we looked at up there was 10 years old. And what he was describing to me is the technology in 10 years of anything is so much more advanced as far as the sound and what I couldn't get over. And I might be a little, I think I can hear pretty good. But I'm telling you what, I really tried and positioned what I had and what I took with me to get the best sound and the best effect to where I didn't know if I could pick one of it and bring it back and show you. But I went for you, and for myself, because I felt like I owed it to everybody in this room to go. And And now I'm at the point of going, today, what blew my mind, one of the ladies at Jack's, her name is Ashley, I don't know her last name, she works at Jack's, and she said, what's all that stuff you got, Mr. Owen? I said, well, I'm studying on wind turbines. I'm not planning on getting one, but after a while I looked at them, I thought that I wouldn't mind having one to generation power for myself. But she said, well, you know, my sister lives in Wisconsin. And she says, because I asked her, I didn't ask her, were you for it or were you against it? I said, what's your opinion? She says, I deal with them all the time in Wisconsin. And so at that point, what does it do? I go back home, bring up my internet, and I go to Wisconsin and start looking at it. You got silos, you got these turbines sitting all around, cows and everything going all around. The guy, one of the ladies told me up there that the smaller of the turbines, when you talk about our poultry industry, you don't never know how much that propane, and some of you folks that live out in the country know about how much propane costs. And I sat there and I got so interested. And she said, well, you know, a lot of our poultry industry is putting small turbines up because as long as that wind's blowing, you can turn that heat up. But I didn't go up there to be against anybody. I went up to come back and meet people in that area, and anytime they call, I'll head that way, just to show them what I do, that you want to get in the car and go somewhere and look. But I think we do need to educate ourselves. But I don't think at the same time, I'm not making no decision on nothing, because I think we still have a long ways to go. But that's what I felt like I was doing.
So, in respect to the department, I called Shelton, New York this morning, first thing, got numbers where I could talk to people in that area, and I actually tried to get in touch with a councilman named Wayne Frank. Wayne was one that made a report on the wind farms in that area as being detrimental on their society. As I talked to the people up there on the phone, they led me to believe that during one of the town meetings, someone told Glenn Kramer, Glenn, if you were Pinocchio, your nose was 10 miles long. In other words, he was telling a lot of untruths about the energy. So I talked to his town supervisor named Nab. But now I think he came to talk to his Cherokee, so he might be their spokesperson, I don't know. But he told me he didn't own any wind farms. He told me that it has been nothing but a benefit to their town, that their town pays no taxes due to those wind farms, if I understood him correctly. But I talked with 3 other men, I can't think their names now, but I actually found on the internet then where these other 2 that had good things to say about it, they didn't actually own them, but their mom and dad owned them, and their grandparents owned them. So, you know, and supposedly, you know, usually they don't complain unless they don't have them. But they did say it was a very productive for their time.
Well, the town of Olive Springs, Tennessee, it might be for the cost of there's town about the size of Gaston before you get there. So it's about the size, maybe a little bit bigger than Ramsey. And, you know, I met with some of the workers. But one of the biggest things I had on Saturday when I was trying to get myself educated as best I could with everything that's going on in Montgomery. And so I started calling on Saturday, and I called, calling commissioners. The only thing I need to do, how would I try to find out what's going on or what people think about it? So I started calling my fellow commissioners in that county. And then I called the sheriff's office, spoke to deputies, I called to the chief of police, spoke to the chief of police, and so I said, well, how did it affect the traffic? He said, well, there for a little while, he said there was a lot of activity, you know, while the turbines were going up. But that's what and that's what I've been trying to do, and when you work and you're part-time, but I don't look at myself as a part-time commissioner, that's the reason why I started reaching out and trying to grab people's hands, to let you know what I know. Not that just because what I know, I'm going to vote for it or against it.
When Senator Williams from North Alabama, when he modeled our state law, he modeled it after Sheldon. Sheldon's got wind turbines. Now, he modeled it after theirs. I've read it, it's really exactly like it. But yet Ryan thought it was too stiff. So he goes down to ask us to be exempt from it. They have them in that area, but you know, why would you have to be exempt for something that was working in another town?
I was on a conference call with Senator Williams and his phone will be. He wrote a bill in the Senate, SB 12, and I spoke with him this morning. And he had 3 wind turbine companies involved in writing that bill. And I can tell you the specifics. I was there all day Tuesday and all day Thursday till 10:59 when the whole deal was penny argument because one senator had the bill and then this lady had the bill in the House and she wanted hers. But the whole fear of the deal was Senator Dahl had told everybody that if this comes back to me with Cleburne excluded, I will kill it. So therefore,
And you affected the whole state.
therefore, Cleburne County affected every county in the state except for Baldwin, Etowah, and Cherokee, who had their own local legislation. That's the bottom line.
Mr. Andrews?
And I talked with the county commissioner chairman in Baldwin County this morning, and they did pass a moratorium at one time to keep from having it through with the permission of the legislature. The moratorium while they studied it. And after they studied it, they put a ban on it. They can't build a windmill or anywhere in Baldwin County. After they studied it, they decided it was not.
But now, you don't understand that Baldwin has zoning. They
They had two different bills that kept them from building wind turbines in Baldwin County. One was for the part that was zoned, and one was for the part of the county that was not.
But-
So
and
they
this is
took care of both.
This is where we're at right now. Basically, if there was if the project was going good, Mr. Kitchens and Mr. Size, right now, and you had a buyer, you would not have to have the county's permission to build a wind farm, to be your right. And the legislature will meet again next spring. Now, those who are in here that want some sort of legislation, this is what I suggest, is just let your commissioner know and let him keep a tally. And if the commission comes together in the next meeting or a meeting coming up and they want to pursue some sort of legislation for next year with their senator and with their representative, then that can be done. I think, some research would probably need to go into it, about the legislation and probably input from everybody. But that's where we're at. We got some that are against it. We have, and I've been contacted, there's a lot of folks that are not against it. They look for opportunity, but they don't feel like they're as affected as you are, and I understand that. But we can, if you'll just let each of your commissioners know, whoever your commissioner is, and even let me know that you're for it or against it, or you want some sort of legislation, that's something that the county commission can pursue next year.
Where do we stand between now and next year?
We're just wide open. I mean, it's a business that comes
So
in.
if they build between now and next year, will those regulations affect them, or will they be grandfathered in because they're already there?
I would think that they would be grandfathered in. So,
Well,
yes, ma'am.
can the county not make regulations?
No, ma'am. Not to stop. Anyway, not to stop this. We have to go through the state. We don't have home rule. We don't have that kind of
What
power.
they have to abide by is federal guidelines. That's my understanding.
So, I think there's a message here today that, I know that there's a lot of you that are upset with me, and I'll have to take it. I'll have to take it like a man, and I'll have to take it when it's vote time. But I gotta be honest, I was trying to do what I thought was best to try to bring in income for our county and jobs. So, I'm guilty of that. We are a small county, we're a rural county, 14,000 people. We have the best employment rate in our area. People in our county work. And as far as a small county, we're not rich, but we're in the black, and we have money in reserves. So we're a sound county, but we're not rich. But I'm always looking for opportunities, and I know I've been hit up since I've been in office. Why can't y'all bring some industry in? So I want you to understand this commission, along with the Chamber of Commerce, along with the City of Heflin, even the City of Ramsey, everybody wants to bring in something that would bring in jobs. Now that's what I'm guilty of trying to do. Now, we're here at a crossroads, and if, like I said, if you will let each of your commissioners know how you feel, if you want to get some legislation coming up in the future, then that could be possibly passed in the legislature. If the county commission has to vote on it as a whole, you know,
Now, will they,
has to vote on the whole.
will the commissioners vote on it? That's one of the questions I have.
And I don't know, I think, I don't want to put that kind of pressure. I'll let you ask them individually after the meeting, but I think they need a chance to take all this in today. Yes, sir, Mr.
Ryan, what is the back of the distance between the property line and the federal regulations versus,
Can you tell me that, Robbie?
you know,
Is there a regulation as far as federal regulation as far as property line?
Federal regulations for that, no, there's best practices, I mean, it would be at least fall down distance plus a percentage, 10% or so, but from a habitable residence, we won't build within 1,000 feet.
300 or 400 foot tall, it's that amount?
Well,
You're talking tall down.
to the tip of the blade, you know, go 450, and then so
Is that
450
the highest
plus, that's to the highest point, to the blade, and then add 10% to that,
600 feet?
something like that. But we wouldn't build within 1,000 feet of a residence.
Miss
Most of the ones in Tennessee is, the first two towers that I looked at is 900 foot apart and the rest of it's 1,000 foot apart.
So, Mr. Kitchens, was it 1,200 acres out here? I don't know how much property John owns. Is it the lay of the land? Where would the lay of the towers be if the proposal went through? You know,
Essentially along the ridge.
or the ridge
line
line
within.
from your house to where? Like the two Mr. Stockings or the other?
The other way.
From your house, that mountain range
Yeah, the mountain range
goes
basically
from
runs
southwest.
southwest. Because my house is near in the center of the northeast area of it.
Yeah, I look at it every day.
And I would particularly ask to have one
How far away would your
about 1,000 feet.
1,000
I'd
feet
have
from
to
your
say
house?
1,001 feet if I could do it. Like I said, we don't have specific sites yet, but I would like to have one close as possible under their own self-regulation. From there, then the ridge and all, the whole boundary of the Winter Farm would run southwest. And it would be on my property, that's just part of it. It'd go all the way down.
It's on that ridge, the mountain ridge between your house and this dog, it's not in that direction.
No,
It's
it's not in that direction at all.
the other direction.
The corner would be 3/4 of a mile from.
In the proposal for closing the road, where would that start at? I know there was some talk about that. Is that start?
Now that definitely is a county commission duty. If there starts to be closing a road, then that has to be advertised a month ahead of time.
Well, don't the citizens of the county have a yay or nay on closing the road?
They would have a public hearing, there would be a public hearing.
Well, would I have a vote, or anybody else have a vote saying yes or no?
You would not have a vote, but you would have public input. You'd be allowed to come and speak at the public hearing. And then you would be able to put the pressure on your commission whether you want it or not.
But what about the people who live on 852?
On 852, I think it would probably depend on where the actual start of the closing would be, and then whether, how many residents would far that. Shannon, Rob is our county engineer. Shannon, what is the rule exactly? Because when we've closed roads before, everybody's been in favor of it. Do you remember, is there?
Yeah, I don't think we've ever had any resentment, but that's a public hearing situation, so the commission takes every opinion. And,
But if one landowner is against it, does the commission still be voted on to close the road, right?
right, yeah, just like the one coming up in 2 weeks, seems like everybody's great with it because of the circumstances, but the commission's got to make a decision based on the whole.
And there are times that we close roads when the landowners come to us, and because if we can unload a dirt road or something like that, that means less expense for us. And if everybody's in favor of it, we do that. Now, I've seen it go both ways in the past. Some have.
And will the road have to be closed there, Mr. Sias, in order for you all to do?
I really don't know, Mr. Sias. I don't know if you want to answer. I mean,
There's both scenarios where you stay open, scenarios where it have to be closed.
Ms. Ma'am, I know you hit your hand up.
My question was about road closing. If the road is closed temporarily during the construction period, is it going to be reopened? What's the time period? And who would make the necessary repairs for the road to bring it back up to public use?
And that's a question we really can't answer yet because they haven't come to us officially and asked, to close the road. So, and that will be made public, and you'll have a chance to come in here.
The one part of that I can't answer is any damage we do to the road, it's on us.
Okay.
And if does that closing the road, is that because it involves a benefit to the landowner or a benefit to the county? And if it's something that any landowner can request, we have a problem on both sides of the road. So we request the road closing because of the danger.
Well, you as a landowner, if you have land that's on the road, you would always have access to the property, to the road. You would be able to use the road. It would benefit the county if they didn't have to work on 852. It would save us a lot of money because it's an expense. But also, if the company, just like Southwire Drive going out here, the general public's not going out there all the time. They couldn't conduct business. And you know what would happen if we had, wind turbines up there, and there's always that concern of vandalism and things of that nature. I know we have towers up there now that are vandalized.
Well,
Yes, sir.
in regards to the beauty of our mountain, I've lived there all my life. And when I'd come around the curve there in John Lewis Watson's curve, I'd always enjoyed the beauty of that mountain. And Mr. Lambert built his house up on the side of that. I didn't like it. But I didn't ask him to move either.
Right. I had complaints about
Tracy
too, but I
Lambert had
like
a dream of being right there,
Right.
and I wouldn't want to be responsible for destroying it for him.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things too, when I know there's talking about dollars, with us commission that we have a budget that we work with, I'd like to say this. When you talk to a commissioner and you don't really realize that, everybody wants to say pave a road. And when I first got in office, that's what I said, why can't we come up and pave our own roads? Well, our budget for paving roads, we get about, for resurfacing roads, about $560,000. Is that about right, Shannon? That's about right, ain't it? And so when you're looking at, when you talk to a commissioner, it's no different than our ramp money that we got and our bridge money. A lot of times when we look at it, and I guarantee you, I get a lot more calls than what's here tonight as far as bad roads. So sometimes when I can look at some kind of way to bring in, where you say 250,000 or 500,000, that gives me another 5 miles of road that I can probably resurface, And so sometimes when what are we thinking? What are we thinking is trying to make the roads and communities better, or that's what I think. And the only way I can do that is make the pie bigger. I just got through taking a class in practice. And we can't raise taxes on the folks, we can ask for legislation. So anytime, and what the guy told me standing up in front of me, and I go to his classes and I take them serious, he says, y'all got to learn to be creative to make the pie bigger. And what he said was, it's through economic growth. I watched 205 and exit 199 down there trying to increase, hoping that shell mark opens back up. People don't realize what a burden that is on our county. Those are things I try to work on. Anywhere there is a place in this county, I give a man a job that will be here. I just moved my son to Augusta, where he's going to work at Birds, nursing nurses. I'd love for him to be here. Maybe Tanner or somebody do something in here. But when I look at, I can grab $500,000, come out there and make one of them roads better. We argue all the time amongst ourselves, who's going to get the money this year? So you just figure if you got a commissioner here, you got 4 commissioners standing in line waiting on 500 or something thousand, you're going to get about 5 miles of road. And I think everybody in here will testify to this. We all sit around wondering who's going to get that little 5 mile stretch of road. But that's not $4,500,000 by the time the way the state's set up for the road. You can't just go there and pay them, not stripe it, cut the shoulders, extend the pipes. There's a lot to that 5 miles of road, and we stay on our engineer all the time, but we still got the same funding that we had years ago. The price of oil has gone up and the price of asphalt has gone up, but we still get the same amount of tax dollars. And I think sometimes when you got commissioners that want to benefit and help the county, and we look at 500,000, it might sound like a little bit, but that's just something we try to, not overlook what the reason of it is we don't take that one up.
Mr. McWhirter, I think you had a question.
I just had one question. A few minutes ago, it said that the question was asked, was that no one has been awarded a settlement in a lawsuit. How many lawsuits has there been? Because I'm thinking about these farmers and everything. If they didn't have problems with their chickens, their cows or something, there's going to be some lawsuits. So how many lawsuits has there been? Maybe not awarded, has there been?
I can answer that question. It's the way the law is written. And the way that law is written, it gives these wind companies like a nation of their own standing inside. And the way it's written, it guards them about outside protecting them. In other words, it don't govern what goes on from the outside, from here to the outside, it governs them on the inside. So where it says 40 decibels, it ain't about 40 decibels when I get over here. It's 40 decibels here. It don't regulate what you're doing. So when they read the law, they don't have anything. They don't know how to lose this law.
This chicken farmer got $500,000 in chicken house. And if they were to have a problem with chicken, there will be a lot bigger issue than putting up these wind turbines.
I agree, and we see it. And there's businesses sue. It's just part of our nation. They sue all the time. But here we are, folks. I know we got pros and cons. I'll give you a second. But we're fixing we can stay here all night if you want to, but I really think if you want us to try to push legislation, then you need to let your individual commissioner know and me know that's what your plan is. And then as the year goes by and the commission can decide as a whole whether or not and what legislation they want to pursue. They may not. They may have no research. But
you have to have these roads and roads like laying on. But all of them have to say, every one of them. Well,
I think it comes down to the commission's decision on that.
we closed one up in Cherokee County because there wasn't just 2 of them, some that owned in on it. And it went through the middle of our property. This guy didn't want anybody coming in on his end, so we didn't have any problems with it. But they say if you've got one person, it's not for it. You can't do it.
Okay, we'll check into that. We'll check into that. We just the only thing we can do as a county commission is we could, if you wanted to pursue some sort of legislation and start looking to put something together and you agree on it as a whole, and then ask your senator and ask your representative to pass a local act that will protect or according to what the regulations are. And that would be next spring.
Before that could happen, before it could even be discussed, or before they would go into session and vote it in or out?
Now your question, I'm
You said that would be for next spring, before y'all could do anything, or
no, we
before-
can, the commission could make a decision next week to ask the legislators, but the legislature's not going to meet till next spring.
What can we do it today?
But means you have
No, we
to
can't.
have
There's
between
nothing to be
now and
voted on
then to
today.
protect.
What's that, Dan?
So his question, I thought I heard it say what could happen between now and then to protect.
The only thing that can happen right now is that we don't have zoning. There is no state legislation. You have to ask your county commissioner to pursue some sort of legislation, and he would have to work it out with the other commissioners on something that they felt like they all could live with, if they all wanted to, and they voted on it, and it was, 2-1 or 3-2, but they voted on it, and then they go to take it to the legislators, and then they would try to pass a local act.
But that local act can't happen until then either.
So next spring.
So for a whole year, we're just unprotected. So if they throw this thing up in a year, then we're just out of luck.